Welcome to today's broadcast of North Idaho College Public Forum. The crew is comprised of NIC television students, and your moderator is North Idaho College political scientist Tony Stewart.
Today we wish to celebrate a special milestone for the North Idaho College TV Public Forum. We come to you today from the Coeur d'Alene, a resort on the lake. It's a beautiful setting, and we're happy to have this very special occasion to broadcast the 700th program in our 15th year. Today we have invited 6 distinguished community leaders to be with us to celebrate this 700th show. And it was my thinking that we should celebrate what we're doing by telling you what's happening in Coeur d'Alene and Kootenai County and the Pacific Northwest. Very exciting and wonderful things are happening here, and today we shall discuss those with you in the area of economic development, the political affairs of our government, the arts and the humanities, and human rights. In order to make sure we have proper time to do that, at this time we'll get into questions at once, and the first question today will come from regular panelists for the past 13 years, Coeur d'Alene attorney Janelle Berg.
The first question today will be directed toward the Honorable Ray Stone, Mayor of Coeur d'Alene and former Dean of Instruction at North Idaho College. Mayor Stone, what do you consider to be the essence of the community of Coeur d'Alene, the spirit of our community? Please include in your answers something about the natural physical setting, the past history of our community, and also something about the achievements of the present.
Okay, thank you very much. Of course, what's taking place right now is a really upbeat and can-do philosophy in city government, and we have a new era of cooperation with my good friend Frank Henderson in county and city government. As a matter of fact, we just came from a meeting this morning at 7, which is a new step or a step in the right direction. The committees in the city have been reorganized, and we think that that we're working much more smoothly, and we think also that that the citizens are getting an opportunity or receiving an opportunity to participate more. We have more committees, and I think the key to this upbeat and this can-do philosophy is that we are having more citizen participation, because city government is not going to be effective without good, wide-range participation from youth to senior citizens, or whatever the case might be. So the essence is can-do. The essence is also, I want this to be clear to everyone, we are also in a can-do philosophy, but we're also dealing with we care type philosophy. We have a new kind of spirit running through the town, which was probably given to us by the Wallenberg Committee to a certain extent, that we now can make our stand for decency and for humanistic type things taking place. We're very pleased.
What about your dreams for the future?
We had some workshops this weekend, the City Council and major department heads did, and we talked about many things. We talked about job opportunities for the people. We talked about what we might do and work with Frank on the potlatch situation. I've discussed that with Mr. Hagedorn some, how we might get people reemployed if it's a possibility down there, and some other things like community bands and lots of dreams. So
that sounds exciting. Thank you.
It was exciting.
Our next question will come from another panel member, Steve Shink, the Director of Informational Services at North Idaho College.
Frank Henderson is chairman of the Kootenai County Commissioners and one of the people most actively involved on a personal level in economic development efforts in this area. What do you see as the appropriate role for the county in economic development?
Oh, I see that role as being multifaceted. There are times when the county simply needs to be a leader, needs to be that group or that person that steps out front and helps define goals and objectives, or takes that first stride towards one of those goals and objectives, to be a facilitator between chambers of commerce and the business community. There are other times when the county needs to be simply a press agent, a cheerleader for the county to help talk about what's good here. We have so many things that it seems like no single chamber or no single business person can help say all those things that we need to say to people who may be interested in coming to this area. There is certainly a distinctive role that the county needs to be aware of regulatory problems that might be a hassle or a problem to business or industry, and we need to, for whatever extent practical, eliminate those hassles and eliminate those problems. While we have to guard our environment here, no question about that. We have to protect our way of life. We also need to find ways to accommodate the needs of business and industry. So the county works between all of those things, Steve, and wherever the opportunity is where I hope that county government would step in.
Mr. Henderson, take out your crystal ball for just a minute and tell me what you see happening in terms of economic development for Kootenai County in the next 20 or 25 years.
Well, I don't know if I can look 20 or 25 years ahead. I can see 3 to 5, or maybe 7 or 8, and I see significant things happening. I don't see early dramatic changes. I see a steady growth towards a more diversified employment base in this county. We have, in the last 5 years, we've provided the infrastructure of streets and roadways and water systems and water treatment plants so that we can accommodate industry. We have, I think, changed our political attitudes. We have come to the realization we need diversification. We need some change. We need some growth. And so I see those things happening, and I see a corridor of industry developing from the state line to Coeur d'Alene, north to Hayden, and out towards the airport, perhaps a little beyond. I see certainly this area becoming the center for tourist industry in North Idaho. No question about that one. That thrust is already upon us, and we're really pleased because it helps facilitate everything else. So significant growth is going to happen. We're going to see it within 3 years. We're going to be very aware of it in 5 years, and we're going to be totally pleased within 7 or 8 years.
Janelle Burt.
We've talked with government leaders, and our next guest is a business leader, Mr. Dwayne Hagedorn, who is president of Hagedorn Corporation and also chairman of the board of Hagedorn Hospitality. What has been the basis of our economy in the past, and at the present time, what do you consider to be the business climate in the Coeur d'Alene area?
Well, thank you, Janelle. When you really look at Coeur d'Alene past and all of North Idaho, we've really had some very solid growth. Coeur d'Alene is ranked either number 1 or number 2 in growth in the state of Idaho in the last 10 years, and it's really come rather easy, I feel. We've got such tremendous natural assets here in this community, and without a great deal of effort and work, we've really seen some dramatic improvements, and I really feel that that the entire environment of North Idaho has shown some excellent growth, and I think there's a lot more that can come.
What kind of growth do you see for the future?
You know, I'm extremely pleased that so many programs are in place. Both of our city and county governments are, I think, the strongest that they've been in many, many years, and this is so important to the growth of the community. And when you look at all of the industrial sites that we have in place, and I think that the hotel, probably in a place that it will play is one of exposure. We've talked about the Inland Northwest being the best kept secret in the United States, and I think the hotel, by bringing people into this area and exposing them, is going to play a major part in the industrial development. But I think we've got to roll up our sleeves. There's no place in the country today that's got a free ride, and we need to be careful. And you notice what's going on in Spokane. Those people are now taking attention as to what their needs are. I think we need to be careful of the Liberty Lake Mall. That could be a very dangerous impact on North Idaho. And so we need to pay attention, and we need to work together, and I really think we've got the players in place to really move out, and I'm very excited about the future of Coeur d'Alene.
Thank you.
Steve Shink.
Doug Shepard is president-elect of the Chamber of Commerce, which frankly is one of the largest and most active organizations in this part of the state. Tell us, if you would, about some of the significant activities that the Chamber has in place right now.
I'd be pleased to, Steve. Coeur d'Alene Chamber represents about 650 members in the greater Coeur d'Alene area, and we view ourselves as the advocate and the voice of business in this vicinity. And over the past, some of our major accomplishments have fell in the area of education. We're a strong supporter of education, both in the kindergarten through 12 level and higher education. We have a great liaison between the community college, NIC, and the Chamber and business. We know that those ties are very close. We've worked hard on legislative issues in the past 2 or 3 years, and last year we had a great success ratio in the bills and the projects that we undertook to the legislative. We are forced not to the extent of Frank, but we are a force in economic development. We piggyback or have a marriage with the various agencies in the county, and we work hard to try to retain business and promote business.
Looking ahead a little bit, several of our other guests have already commented on the changes that are going to take place in the local economy over the next few years. How will the Coeur d'Alene Area Chamber of Commerce change also to help with that new focus in the business community?
Well, I like this point because we're in the process of changing right now. A couple of years ago we had to relocate due to the construction of the Coeur d'Alene. We're in the process now of evaluating sites to relocate again to a more visible spot to provide our services. In 1985 we developed a concept of a CVB in Coeur d'Alene, Convention and Visitors Bureau. This year we hope in the next few weeks to take the giant step to set that whole process in motion and have a standalone CVB funded under the Coeur d'Alene Chamber, which we represent and know that tourism is now becoming a major impact in our economy.
Thank you, Doug.
Our next guest is Father Bill Wasmuth, who is the pastor of St. Pius X Catholic Church in Coeur d'Alene. And Father Bill is also the president of the Kootenai County Task Force on Human Relations. Father Bill, you certainly have, along with other members of the task force and its activities, been heard not only in the Pacific Northwest but throughout the United States. And as Mayor Stone indicated a little earlier, the Wallingberg Award was given New York recently to the task force. My first question would deal with I guess the frustration that has been experienced in our community. So much national attention has been given to the Aryan nations and white supremacy, and I don't think the nation yet realizes to the extent that the people of this community are committed to human rights and what the task force is doing. Would you take a little time to tell us what's been going on in human rights and the support that the task force and the community has given to those in our community who are in ethnic minority groups?
Certainly. I think our community is made up of people who are basically good and basically respectful of others, and I think when challenges face us, the people of this community respond. You've certainly triggered a lot of that with the Popcorn Forum and with these public forums, present challenges to us and to the whole community, and we respond in positive kinds of ways. And I think that's what's happening with the whole human rights issue, is that the challenge has been placed upon us by certain people moving into our community, and the community has reached deep within itself and found the goodness and the basic trust and respect for each other that's there, and has marshaled together, pulled together that respect and manifested. I think there's been a challenge there. I think there's been real growth there. Growth in terms of meeting the challenge from outside, and growth also in terms of looking deep within and seeing where we need to develop ourselves in terms of better respect and more attributing of dignity to people where it really belongs.
Could you take a minute to explain some of the things that have gone on? I know that there's 6 major committees within the task force. You really touch all aspects of life. What do you do in serving in education and those who feel need for support and so forth?
The thrust of the task force always has been and continues to be and will continue to be a very positive kind of thing, that we're anxious to promote human rights, promote the dignity of all peoples. We're anxious to raise awareness about the fact that cultural diversity, religious diversity, racial diversity is something to be grateful for and to seen as a source of blessing rather than as any way being a threat. And so we pursue that in many different ways. Awareness raising for the adult population, education awareness level raising for the younger people through the educational system. We do it by celebrations as much as by anything, where by celebrating the truth of something we can deepen our respect for it within ourselves. We do it by promoting legislation where that's appropriate and necessary. We do that by becoming very visible through media, through programs that we present, etc. All kinds of different ways.
Thank you. Our 6th guest today is Sandy Emerson, who's the Executive Vice President of the Coeur d'Alene Chamber of Commerce. And in introducing Sandy, I would certainly indicate that he's a very enthusiastic, energetic, and excellent representative of the Chamber of Commerce. Sandy, you've heard 5 of our guests today, and we really truly did come today to celebrate this community, this county, and what is going on. I'd like to give you this opportunity as a person who works with all these individuals and numerous others, and we have an audience here today of fine people from our community. Would you do some summarizing on not only what they said, but where have we been, where are we today?
Tony, it's exciting to be here For this event, your 700th program is a milestone, of course, North Idaho College's involvement with the community, but the people on this panel are definitely shakers and movers in this community, as well as many, many others. But we've got a business climate right now that is second to none. We've got a community that has pride in itself, that's going places. We've got events in the past week. We've had sold-out concerts. We've had wrestling tournaments that filled a gymnasium to see a national championship wrestling team. We've had functions that second to none. So it's exciting in a lot of ways as far as our activities go, but it's also exciting as far as the economic mix. We have a community in transition. The whole Northwest, and in fact the country, is going through transition. The basic industries are shifting from labor-intensive to automation, and we're losing some jobs. We still have strong industries. Mining is still important to us. The lumber, timbering industry is vital to our area and will be for the future. We've got strong companies. But by necessity, they're automating, becoming more efficient, still will be sources of revenue into the future, but again, they'll have a smaller employment base. So what we're doing is searching for the answers to that. Diversification. The local government officials have made it possible to have a positive business climate. The infrastructure is here. Business leaders have brought in things. This resort we're sitting in, I think as far as destination resort, national notoriety, this is speaks for itself. I would point out just the Christmas events we had here, courtesy of Mr. Hagedorn and Mr. Jager, with thousands of lights, thousands of poinsettias, hundreds of trees, brought people from all over the Northwest to see this. It's the kind of thing that you're going to see in the future. To me, it's the most exciting thing I can think of.
This is really a resort area. We're sitting here and looking out over the lake today with a little snow here and a little snow in the mountains. And I know Dwayne is looking with some enjoyment at that winter carnival atmosphere. With this large resort hotel here, and there are a lot of other motels and facilities in our community, it's really a place to come, and it's a place to celebrate. And I would like to point out, Sandy, that the Chamber of Commerce, in addition to their promoting business, is involved, as Doug has said, with all aspects of the community and education. And you people have done an excellent job with resolutions in support of human rights. The city of Coeur d'Alene has done this. I'd like for you to take another minute. We have the time to tell us when people come here and spend some time from Canada or other places, what are some of the other things they can enjoy? And certainly we can inform them that it's a very fine and safe place to be.
Absolutely, Tony. We've got, again, just in the past year, we've had some things like a double-decker bus, a London bus, come into the community. We've got horseback rides in 3 different locations in the mountains overlooking Coeur d'Alene. We've got the traditional things that we've always had to offer. It's a beautiful place to be, so that you can walk around our Tubbs Hill 150-acre park with the beaches, wildflowers, pristine outcroppings right into the water. It's a peninsula. We've got a city beach and park that's just phenomenal. 3 to 5 miles of walking. Centerpieced by the world's longest boardwalk, which is a floating boardwalk, which is, again, an experience unto itself. And from there we go into the other aspects of the community that have the water slide and things that are, again, the Museum of North Idaho, beautiful. We've got a Carousel Players performing group that in the summertime is nationally recognized as an off-Broadway hit performance, and those kind of things. Every weekend we've got a festival with the Art on the Green. The Kootenai County Fair has become a North Idaho Fair, and a lot of excitement. Virtually every weekend has something. The other thing, to speak to the future, we've got a new airport museum, multi-million-dollar, being developed north of town with not 1 but 2 trains that will circle it, antique trains that have been brought in, old narrow-gauge steam locomotives. And announcement that's soon to be made, and I hope I'm forgiven for making it too soon, is a classic car museum is looking at the area, and looks like it'll be developed here within an announcement made within a week.
I would like to ask another question that has to do with the media, both the print and live media. As we have so many activities, in particular symposiums and speeches and programs and workshops, my experience has been that the media has given extensive coverage to all those things, and I think that is one of the prime reasons why we have 1,000, 1,200 people that come to programs. And I'll go back to you, Father Bill, and let you elaborate a little bit on that. Isn't this really a 2-part process? People have got to know that things are going to go on, And number two, when they do come out and support it in our community.
And I think that's the exciting thing about Coeur d'Alene. That's been very obvious to me in the years that I've been here, is that people will respond if there's a need, and people will respond to challenge. And I think that's what's happening right now. Just in terms of the question you were leading to a minute ago that Sandy answered as well, that we have received, Coeur d'Alene community, our area has received a great deal of visibility, not all of which has been positive here recently, but the community says we can turn that around, we can change that. We can work at developing an image and developing an attitude amongst the people in the rest of the country that is accurate. We can change that bad image that has happened, because that's not an accurate thing of what's really happening here. And so we go about that task, and we've been recognized, as you alluded to earlier, nationally for the work that's been done there by this community in changing that image. So if there's a challenge there, there's people in Coeur d'Alene that are willing to take on that challenge, and they're willing to successfully resolve it.
Dwayne Hagen, I have a question for you. You gave a speech some time ago that I found most informative and really a challenge to the whole state of Idaho. You were speaking about what was going on not only here but across Idaho, and you indicated in that speech that one has to spend some money to make money, and you were challenging those in government at the state level to take a look at what we could do in the future. Would you take a minute to tell us, moving beyond our area, for the whole state of Idaho, what you see that we should do and can do, and to really have Idaho to move in some of the ways that we're doing here?
Well, I think statewide, Tony, that there are a lot of economic problems. I think much more so in the southern part of the state with the agricultural arena and really a distressed state. And I think that the legislative government and our elected state officials have got to take the bull by the horns. And you've got to take risk, and we've got to step forward, and we need to turn the entire state around. And I really do challenge those people to become creative. I think in government, and so many times what's been done in the past is what's to be done in the future. And in most business today, you can't survive operating the way you operated 5 years ago. And there has to be change, and they have to become creative and develop ways to fund some of these programs, such as education, to get Idaho back. It's a great state, and it has a great future, but those leaders in government are going to have to take some risk, and they're going to have to belly up to the stove and come with some new ways to fund these programs.
Mayor Stone, you've had a long history in human rights, and you served in World War II, and you were one of the people that went into Germany and had that awful experience of seeing some of the concentration camps. But recently you had, after all these years, a very rewarding experience in New York City. You represented us all, and I've had the pleasure of seeing the ABC tape. Would you share with our viewers, and I know we're going to have a program with you and the other two who went to New York very soon, but what was the experience like in New York, and what did the people in New York say to you on behalf of the people?
Well, it was a very dramatic situation, and probably one of the high points of my life, because I didn't receive the award, nor did Bill or Larry. We received it for the people of Coeur d'Alene and the area, and that was a very important part of it. It was just they treated us well, and they were very courteous to us, and they looked surprised. They had that situation that they were dealing with at that beach area, and they looked to us for guidance, and that's kind of interesting that the large city with over 8 million population were maybe somewhat envious of us, but I think all three of us felt very impressed. We were very gratified. There was some hype to it. I understand that's part of the game, but they were very sincere. But there was sincerity there, and I think Bill would agree with me on that. That I was very impressed by the City Council President Stein. He a dramatic and forthright politician, and said some really interesting things to us, and we really appreciated it. But it made us, I think, all of us come back with a renewed mindset to do something and to continue that process that you folks in the human rights have done. It was a very important thing for me because of the fact that I played a very small part. PFCs don't have much control over their destiny in life, but I did happen to be in the liberation of a concentration camp, and I've heard from people from that camp. I received a letter yesterday from a person back east who was in the camp, and he's proud to be a citizen. He served in the Korean War, and he's very proud about his kids. And I had another phone call from a rabbi in Falls Church, Virginia, and he had been in that camp and been liberated. And I was not a prime factor. I was one of many, but that dramatic thing, it was much more meaningful to me personally.
We have about 4 minutes left, and I'm going to let Janelle Burke ask another question, but before she does, I would just say, Mayor Stone, that I can testify that you represent us well, and you showed great dignity and grace in receiving the award. Janelle Burke.
I would like to ask Sandy Emerson about some of the art kinds of affairs that go on here at Coeur d'Alene, some of the concerts and also some of the sports events that have been taking place here at Coeur d'Alene, and if you could tell us about some of those things for our viewers.
Thank you, Janelle. The Jazz Fest has become one of the premier events in the Northwest. It's now gone into a 3-day format. It's something that's quite exciting in August. We feel very comfortable that that will build and grow into a nationally recognized event as things happen. We've got, as we mentioned, the Carousel Players in our summer theater that brings people from all over the country who are aspiring to Broadway. It's a quality event. People come from all over the Northwest to vacation just to catch their summer plays. But in the fall and winter, we have the local community theater, and that is also an exciting group that makes all of us proud of what we can generate from our own community. We have our Symphony Society. We have had the NIC Auditorium with its 1,200-seat theater has become something of a community focus. We've had events there that from the Martin Luther King Day that was jam-packed, of course, to the recent this weekend Wind and Hill concert. So you really, it's a community that has so much to offer for what some people think is a remote North Idaho location. We're not only easily accessible by air and by car at the crossroads of 2 highways, but we've been known for a sophistication that's unusual in a community our size, and I think that speaks well of the kind of people who've chosen to live here. I should add quickly that I didn't mention, the mainstays of our community from historical standpoints are our boat cruises and our fishing and the 8 major lakes, 8 major rivers, the mountain setting. It's just a place that has so much to offer from a national recreation paradise standpoint that it's hard to believe we have so many other things.
And for Mr. Henderson, a question about the county then in general. We've talked a lot about Coeur d'Alene, but I know there are many interesting things in the county. Can you tell us something about
Well, there's
other
a great
things
diversity in the county. You can choose to live in the city like Coeur d'Alene or Post Falls, or you can choose to live on a mountainside. You can live out on a prairie and have horses. You can live on a river. You can live on a lake. You can be as remote as you want to be, or you can be in the center of things like in the city. That's, those choices make this such a desirable place to live and to work. That's why industry often is attracted to us, because of the lifestyle, the diverse thing we have. 4 seasons of recreation. And you can't play here unless you work here is one of the mottos I've heard, and I like that slogan. This is a great place to work because it is also a great place to play.
Thank you.
Father Bill, there's one question we didn't get in. I think rather short of time, but we haven't talked about the future of the Task Force on Human Rights. What's going to happen?
More of the same. We've got a long ways to go. Because I think we are recognizing, both as a community and recognizing as a general thing around our country, that whenever we become apathetic about the rights and dignities of persons, then prejudice and racism rears its head again. And so we have more than just an immediate kind of task here to do. We have a task that's ongoing, and the task force will be a leader in that, I hope.
And you're looking at something in the 5 states of the region too, but we don't have time to deal with that now.
That's right.
On behalf of our staff at the North Idaho College TV Public Forum, and I know I speak for Dr. Bob Bennett, the president of our institution, and Steve Shink and Janelle, we thank you for being here. We thank you for celebrating what's going on in our community, and we congratulate you for all you're doing, and our audience and all the other people that are doing those things. I hope you've enjoyed our program, ladies and gentlemen, and we're so happy to have completed our 700th program, and we want to come to you in the future with other programs to talk about here and the nation what's going on important issues. I would like to thank you for joining us, and I would like to invite you to do this again next week. Until then, please have a good week. I am Tony Stewart.
North Idaho College Public Forum can be seen at the same time each week over this station. This production was videotaped earlier by an NIC student crew for viewing at this more appropriate time.